Okay. Jessica Fox.
Yes.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for your time.
That's okay.
Sorry that you sat outside in the heat for
Yeah.
a little while.
No, that's okay.
Did you message me straight away when you got here?
Probably like a couple minutes after.
Okay.
And I
So
was
you're probably
like,
sitting out there for 20 minutes.
yeah.
Do a review. I'll accept the criticism.
Yeah, that's right. I was like, I'll sit inside, but then the doors were locked.
No, so sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. For people that don't know you, how old are you?
I'm 23.
23?
Yes.
Born in?
Sydney.
Oh, nice. Whereabouts in Sydney?
Balcombe Hills. It's like up north a bit.
No idea where that is.
That's right.
It's okay.
Yeah.
What's it near? Somewhere that I'd know that it's near.
Like Castle Hill.
Oh, I've heard of Castle Hill.
Yeah.
Is that near, is Hillsong Castle Hill?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, near the Hills campus.
Yeah, yeah,
it's
cool.
like Balcombe Hills.
Cool.
That area.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been there. Dan's in-laws live near there. Have you ever been to the Hills campus?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been there a few
nice.
times. Yep.
Did you grow up, so born in Sydney near there, you go to church in Sydney? Gone
Yeah,
to church?
so Mum was saved when I was 6. So then we started going to church around then.
Oh, wow.
She had like a full 180, gave her life to the Lord and hasn't looked back since.
Wow.
So got my first Bible at 6. I actually found it the other day, which is pretty cute.
No.
Yeah, it did have all the coloured tabs and the beginner's Bible. It was, really cute.
Oh, was it a gift from your mum?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, what?
It was so good. So it was good looking back at that and the verses when you're 6. Your highlight.
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah, yeah.
What did you find? What was cool that you found in there?
Psalm 23 was the first thing I learnt. So that was like fully highlighted. The whole thing.
Thick,
yeah.
bleeding through the other page.
Yeah, exactly. Like not a Bible highlighter.
Yeah.
Just like proper.
I don't actually have a Bible highlighter. I still use those ones. And I'm like,
Yeah.
All right, I need to look into that. Cool. Did you keep it?
Yeah. So
That's pretty special.
it was pretty cool finding that the other day.
Okay. Have you been through a few Bibles since then?
Yeah, I have. Obviously, like up to when I was like 17, 18, was in church and went to a Christian school and everything like that. Cool. And then from 18 to 22, kind of left that life. And
just sort of had a little taste of the world?
Yeah, yep. Spiritual wilderness was a word that some people use for it that I've kind of adopted.
Yeah. Would have been a little bit bitter?
Yeah, harsh reality. But yeah.
Oh, wow. We'll go there, I think, because it'll be cool to hear the lessons from that time. But what was it like growing up, Christian school, youth group?
Yep, youth group. I literally probably went to church like 5 times a week. Like, yeah, it was full on because I was like in a Christian school. We did like chapel on Tuesdays and I was part of like the worship band there. I ran a sisterhood group at my high school as well.
How old were you?
I was probably like 16.
No.
Yeah, from like year 10 to year 12. We did a Tuesday lunch, sisterhood, which was so cute.
Was it fire?
Huh? Yeah, it was good. It was like 10 girls and we would get a classroom and that was really cool. We did that through, I grew up with like in Hillsong, so did that through there as well and kind of like got that platform.
So is that Hillsong, the Hills campus or another one closer to you?
Yeah, the city campus.
Oh, city campus was closer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I like was born in the hills and then moved down south.
Oh,
to like
born in the hills.
Born in the hills and then kind of grew up near like the airport kind of way. So then city was closer. And then would go to youth group Friday night and then Sunday would be morning with family and then nighttime with like youth was Sunday. So it was full on.
Man,
then.
That would have been so fun back then. Though.
Yeah, it was
Hillsong
really.
was pumping.
It was probably like at its peak when I went there and just like the encounters with the Holy Spirit was like full on. It was really good.
What's some like cool memories from them?
Oh, like summer camps. That was
don't they do like, I've never been to one. I've just seen things. They had the sickest budget one, but they knew how to use it. Like it looked so good.
It was really good, and they did like sponsorship for summer camps for the kids that like couldn't, afford it too. So it was really awesome. Just being in a tent and you're just sweating. And the worship was just amazing.
Oh,
and I just remember, and everyone prays for each other. Like you're constantly like going around to a different youth member praying for them. And that was, it was really cool. Leaders praying for you as well.
I got like...
Yeah, like I wouldn't trade that
stuff
for the world. Like that was so beautiful. Like the stuff that like older people spoke over me at such a young age, like, yeah, I'll take that forever.
That makes me like emotional.
Yeah,
hey? That's,
it was really good.
What was like, do you remember, was there like an encounter at young where you were like, oh man, like God knows.
Oh yeah,
God cares for me.
There was so many. Like you can just feel the Holy Spirit on you. But even just words, like I remember one leader saying that like she saw like a huge like angel surrounding me, and I've actually gotten that like 4 times like spoken over me through my life. Yeah, and like that just kind of confirmation has like followed me through my life. And then just when I was probably 16 again, I'd kind of gone down like a selfish route and kind of just thinking about myself a lot. And I remember my mum had like 3 months of like depression, just like fully in the dumps. And I just thought it was something that she was going to get over. Like that was just like a season. And then it had been like 3 months at this point, and I was like, oh, she's not like getting any better. And she walked past my room when she was going to pick up my brother from school, and I saw her face was just like cold, and it just like wasn't like my mum. And she left, and I was just so like convicted in that moment to pray for her. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, and I hadn't prayed for her the whole time. And I was like, felt so selfish that it had been that long. But in that moment I was like, yeah, I'm gonna pray for her. Just closed my door, did a big prayer. And then she came back after picking my brother up from school and walked in and was like, did you pray for me? As she walked past my door. Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I did. And she goes, I was driving and I felt like a cloud just like lifted, like this dark cloud just lifted off me.
No.
Yeah, and that's like literally probably like one of the bedrocks of my faith is that moment.
Oh, man.
Yeah. That was just like the Lord just showing himself. Like if you move, like I'll move.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear, oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's where like even when I did walk away from like church and everything like that, I couldn't deny God even in that 4-year time just because of that moment that happened for me.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I don't know why that makes me so, that hits me, eh?
Yeah.
Hard. That's,
because it's your mum too, so it's like, oh, wow. And at first she thought it was because she had like a mentor at the time. She thought it was her mentor that prayed for her. And I think she like called Dad as well and was like, did you pray for me? He's like, no. And then she walked past my room and was like, maybe it was Jess. And I was like, yeah.
Her darling, her little, her little clone rock.
Yeah.
Because she's a rock, eh?
She is.
She's a faith-filled,
strong woman
righteous
of faith.
woman of God.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, she's been great.
Well, so when you said what did she do?
Yeah, she was just like, oh yeah, I just felt like a release. She's been great ever since, really.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which has been awesome. Still has, your rocky periods, but yeah, never like that like depression for like 3 months. That was full on.
You should share that testimony for Strength to Stand.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Because that's inspiring. That's like,
yeah.
Man, he does hear.
He does.
And especially a spirit-led prayer, a moment that's led by God to...
100%, because you hear like the consistent prayers of people like, I've been praying for this for 30 years, finally happened, like that's awesome. But this was definitely just like a spirit-led moment of like, you need to pray now. And then like the healing came just straight away, which is just like, how good is God?
And I love that you're like, close your door. I'm pitching you, like, let's get to work.
Yeah, literally, yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, and that was 16.
Yeah.
And then, but the fall away was like what?
18.
Okay, so after that, I'm guessing you're pretty fired up.
Yeah. Yeah, love the Lord. Like that's when, I was so involved with youth, started sisterhood, was involved in our chapel in school.
Did sisterhood come after that?
Yeah. Yeah. So
you're like,
yeah. So I was just like on fire for God. And then I think you do it for like a really long time and it almost becomes like a duty or a chore rather than I'm loving the Lord.
Yes.
Because you're doing it so much and it just becomes routine.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I was like, oh, I don't want to commit to this anymore. So then you think you can like you have to give up God, but it was really just maybe just stepping down from a few things and just giving myself time to regain my capacity. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Man, there's actually a bit in that, Jess, because, oh, wow, there's like, yeah, that's interesting, eh?
Yeah.
So you chose to do sisterhood?
Yep. Yeah, I chose to do that.
Did you choose to do something else, or did you get asked to do some more stuff?
I chose to do everything. I was always like I want to serve, I want to do more. Yeah, and I loved it and I really enjoyed doing that for a season. And I think that instead of saying, oh, okay, I want to step back and build the intimacy, because you don't have that maturity at that age. You're like, oh, it's by my works, like by all that, and you don't have the vertical relationship that's so strong.
Yeah.
So the fact that I was doing heaps meant that I didn't have time to like personally develop my relationship with God.
Transitions from, man, I'm doing this with God to like I'm doing this for God.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Oh, wow.
And then on top of that, then you've got the pressures of high school and like the transition of I was with a really good like Christian group of friends, and then, you know, those kind of friends that probably aren't the best influences start to infiltrate your life, and you know, you start caring about how you look a bit more and how people perceive you, coming to that year 11, year 12 kind of life.
What were some things that you notice? And did you notice them then? Like you obviously you can probably pinpoint some stuff now. Did you notice it then, like starting to infiltrate, or was it just?
I remember because we go through like a prefect process with our school, and I remember you've got to be like, come from, you know, your church and go through all that kind of application. And I remember getting approved to be prefect, which was awesome. And then some stuff came out where like I was at a party with friends and now my school found out about it and was like, you can't be acting like this. And I was trying to have my cake and eat it too. And that's where I started noticing that I was like indulging in things of the world, but trying to still do everything I was doing, like with my...
It must have been wrestle.
Yeah, it was tough. And then I feel like it ended up just the world winning because I wanted to experience things I'd never experienced before, which is, dangerous at that age.
Man, where's your mum?
So this is probably like year 12 now. She's always my moral compass. But then when I was at schoolies, which I had a very tame schoolies, I went to Terrigal with a bunch of girls like for a week, and it was really fun. And my mum called me while I was at schoolies and she goes, oh, we're going to move to the Gold Coast. And I was like, cool, I'm not going.
You're like, we could have done that before schoolies.
Yeah,
so I could have been in surface.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I was like, oh, okay, cool, but I'm not going. And she was like, yeah, you are. Like, I've always been with mum. Like, we've been so close all our lives. So she was just kind of assumed that I would go to the Gold Coast straight away.
Yeah.
And then I got back and she was like, yeah, we bought a house there. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. She's like, so we'll all move in February. And I'm like, I'm not moving. But she didn't listen. Like, she was just like, you're gonna move. You're 17.
You'll figure it out. We're leaving.
Yeah, we were 17. Yeah. But yeah, I got into uni in Sydney and I'd kind of organised to stay with my dad because they were separated. So I'm divorced, and I'd organised to live with my dad while my mum moved to the Gold Coast.
Had you lived with him before?
No. I'd only ever stayed with him on Sundays, just like weekends.
And they separated when you were how old?
3.
Okay. So all of your memory is, And when did your mum remarry?
When I was 5, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well, she married when I was 7, but they were 5 when I met. So they had a couple years.
You were 5 when they met. Yeah. Okay, so cool. So he's been your dad.
He's like my dad, yeah.
Yeah. But your relationship with your dad's...
It's good, yeah, it's good. Look, we have a more like... We're very similar kind of relationship, whereas my stepdad and my mum have been there through like the emotional kind of times.
Discipline.
Yeah, the discipline, like
changing the nappies.
Yeah. Whereas dad's always been like good chat about movies and, you know, music and all that kind of like fun stuff.
Is he a Christian?
No.
So he's also a little bit of like, you can do what you want, enjoy yourself.
Exactly. And that's where like mum was such, you know, a rock. And then
she had double the work to do.
Literally. And such a disciplinary. Like she was so great in knowing the boundaries between being strict and also like letting me make decisions.
Oh, so hard, especially with another parent that's not on the same page.
Exactly. So she was really good for that. And, you know, my biological dad definitely let her do that. Good. And it was good because obviously like being a girl, I could, you know, respect my mum and but yeah, it was good. But yeah, then she was like, yep, we're all moving to the Gold Coast. And then it got to like literally 2 weeks before. And she was like, you're coming with us? And I was like, no, I've organised to stay with Dad now. Yeah, she was really upset.
Did you break her little heart?
She was like very upset at me. Man. Yeah. So yeah, so then they moved and I was able to kind of let loose and because then I moved in with Dad. I finished up youth because obviously after year 12, then they had that transition to young adults. But I felt like I was young for my year, so I was 17. So I was like, I'm not ready for young adults. Like they're all old.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so
you didn't want to like well, because sometimes you're at that age is like, I am ready.
Yeah, no.
I was ready 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it wasn't like that at all. They all seemed a lot older, maybe because Hillsong was so big.
Yeah.
It just felt very like big and scary. They only met up monthly too, and I was such a like, it was Friday nights, like weekly, and I just felt like I was just drifting away because I didn't have that like accountability and just like a good support group like after youth.
Man, okay. So then, well, for a start, your mum's heart would have just been crushed.
Yeah, she was devastated.
So hectic.
Yeah.
You don't realise this stuff truly till you have kids, hey? And then you're like,
yeah.
No, Lord.
I know.
But anyway, all right, so you stayed.
Yeah.
She left. Mm-hmm. You're in with your dad, which is unknown, like full time.
Yeah.
Heaps of freedom.
Heaps of freedom. Like basically felt like living by myself because Dad works so much and then after work he networks, so he's out till the morning. And then
totally different.
Yeah, and my stepmom, she comes from like Thailand, so they're very like, she just like cooks, cleans, like didn't really like, wasn't like, on my back or anything like that. Just kind of let me live my life. And then I have my half sister there as well, but she's got autism. So she's like with support workers all the time. So they had their own like stuff going on. And I was this 18-year-old kind of living in their spare room and everything was central to me because they lived in the city in Sydney. So then I would walk to uni, walk to work. I worked at a call centre there and then come back home and I would start going out at night, clubbing because everything's central, everything's a walk away. It was kind of just all at your disposal. So.
And was it... I'm guessing like that, all of that was just sort of just easy, right?
Very
easy.
It just
happened.
Yeah, it just happened. Like you fall into it. You start going to uni. Everyone in uni is going out for drinks after. Everybody's in that party lifestyle that's like that age. And being able to do what I want. And when I get home, Mum's still calling me at this time. She's still like, are you okay? Are you catching Ubers? But it was so easy then to just lie and be like, oh yeah, I'm walking with someone, but I'm just walking home. Like,
just finished the Bible study.
Yeah, because she's not here.
And what about like the connections that you made? Like, you know, your girls group and like you did you have good friends then? Like legit friends?
From youth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like during the youth period?
Yep.
Do you have solid friends?
I did. I had really solid friends, but some of them fell away too. So it was like no one's like, yeah.
Was there no like your youth leader or whatever was like chase you up? Or
that's the hard thing about growing up in Hillsong is that the leaders are from America and they're changing like every year pretty much. Yeah, because they're from Bible like they come from America or Canada to do Bible college and then they become leaders. So a lot of my leaders were American and they would swap out like every year. Yeah, so you don't have that like consistency.
Oh, that's strange.
Yeah.
It's like cool, but then the downside is like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Do that. Mm-hmm. So there was no leader that was like, oi, Jess, where are you? Like, why aren't you coming to young adults now?
No. No, not really.
Just slipped through the cracks.
Just slipped through, yep, exactly. And yeah, there's just so many people. So I guess that's exactly what happened. Kind of slipped through the cracks, went my own way. The friendship group that I'd made through school that I'd left was now non-Christian as well. So that end of year 12 was kind of like a different influence for me. And
jeez. Can ask. Like we won't ever know. So the question's half pointless. But do you think that like if you did have like if you had a youth leader that you knew, and then they were still around in church and still like in your world, maybe on social media or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you reckon like that would have made a difference if they were like around, even just like checking in, hey, can we catch up for a coffee? Do you want to hang out? Yeah,
definitely. Because I think that it wasn't really about the people my age. Like they couldn't talk me out of doing what I was doing because I had like, they're your age. So you're kind of like, oh, well, I want to experience this. But if I had someone older kind of being like, I've gone through this, I know what you're trying to like do and it's not worth it. That would have just been such a good help to like have a mentor, just like talk me through what I was going through and catch up. Yeah. Well, hindsight.
Hindsight's a beautiful thing. Well, you are where you are now.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Thank God, yeah.
The prayers of a righteous person avail much, hey?
Yeah.
Praise the Lord for Miriam.
And mum, yeah, exactly. Mumsy. She was a prayerful mum.
Yeah.
There were even nights when I would be out, on the town with friends and she'd call me like the next morning and be like, oh, how was your night out? And I'm like, yeah, it was good. But, I wanted to like meet people like when I was young and I was like, yeah, but I didn't really meet anyone last night. She's like, oh, I was praying that you didn't meet anyone. And I was like, can you stop praying for me?
Oh, man. So she was still there, present with it, and she wasn't like blasting you?
She wasn't. She just let me.
Shucks, that's...
Yeah, which was like tough for her. Like if you knew how she was, like...
Yeah, and there's something in that. A lot of parents learn that the hard way, I see, and I'm praying that I learn this because I know my kids will go through stuff.
Yes.
And I just pray that don't blast them because I'm so like that. I'm such a parent. Even to the young adults in my world, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, they don't want to hear this. They've got parents. Just be the guy that's asking them and not blasting them.
Yeah, there were definitely some lectures in there, but I'm glad she didn't like blast me all the time.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, because then what do you do?
Yeah.
Stop picking up the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, you just want to I'm preaching to myself right now. Praise the Lord.
Yes.
Okay, so any big trouble in that period? Like,
oh yeah, like just the feeling of being lost, like broken relationships definitely take a toll on you at that age because everything's so heightened. So your emotions are heightened and love is so great, but then it also breaks down and it really definitely took a toll on me, like as a young 18, 19-year-old going through like, who's going to love me? Where am I going to be accepted? And you search for things in like partying and all that with people who are also broken. So you're really just like a vicious cycle of rubbing off on each other in like the wrong ways. So it was tough. It was a tough season. But yeah, even though I was exposed to so much like just bad people, I felt like God still had his hand on me through all of that. Like just even looking back at situations where I was like, that could have turned out really badly. Like there were a lot of situations where I'm like, how did I not recognize that? Or how did I not get hurt in that situation? And you see that like God's chosen me from the start.
Yeah.
It's like looking at that 4-year period, I was like, wow, he really still shielded me from what was going on around me. I was still a bit oblivious and I'm almost really grateful that I don't really understand everything that happened in that time.
I perceive things like that as well. Hey, it's like he marks you, he protects you from certain things, which is hard because, people go through stuff and they're like, why didn't he protect me from this?
Yes.
But, in the simple terms, like he does mark you. He does protect you, but it's like the enemy blinds you.
Yes.
So you're like, oh no, this is good, or this is good. But and people's prayers, I think, I think he does what he did to you when your mum walked past the room to your family members and the righteous people in your life. And they pray for you, and it's an interesting thing. All right, so you're out tasting the world.
Yes.
And then what? You're 20?
Yep, so I'm 20 and then COVID hit. And, relationship broke down. Friendships were breaking down all around that season. Like everything was falling apart just before the the borders closed, and my mum called me, and she kind of knew that all this stuff was going on. And she was like, you should just move to the Gold Coast. Like, everything's changing. Like, I heard the borders are going to close. Like, you should just move. And I had a big night the night before, and I was on the phone to her like, I'm never moving to the Gold Coast. Like, I would rather not, words. Like, ever. And I was just in a really, like, angry, just bad mindset when I talked to her that morning. And then I called her probably around 4 p.m. that day, and I was like, I've had to think about it, and I'm going to move.
Oh, wow, that quick.
Literally that day. Yep, so that morning I was like, I'm never moving. By the afternoon, I just like sat with it. Wow. And I was like, there's nothing really left for me here. Like, I'm not happy. I'm angry.
Where's uni?
Uni was in Sydney still.
Like, yeah, but where were you at with it?
Like I was probably, I think 1 or 2 years, 2 years in, 2 years in. Yeah.
Transfer?
Yeah. So I just, no, I didn't transfer. I just, because COVID, I just did it online the last year.
What were you studying?
Communications, so public relations, PR. Yeah.
For people that don't know what that is, why would we do that?
Yeah, it's like marketing, like, yeah, kind of that space of writing, copywriting, all of that. Not doing that now, but.
No? But you finished that?
Yeah, finished that.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
so did the rest online, which is good.
Okay,
Yeah.
So that afternoon.
Yep, that afternoon.
4 p.m.
Yep.
You called?
I called.
And what did she say?
She was like, done. She's like, you're not flying on a plane because I'm worried about whatever's going on in the world. So she's like, I'm going to drive down from the Gold Coast. She's so good. Yeah. She's like, I'm going to drive down. I'm going to pick you up. And I'll leave now.
I love your mom.
Yeah, she's so good. And I packed everything in garbage bags because I had no suitcases.
Because you do.
Yeah. And 20? Literally, 20. Got the big black bags and put everything in there. All my clothes. Went out to Dad, and I was like, I'm going to go to the Gold Coast for a bit. And he was like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, I didn't think I'd last in the Gold Coast. I was just like, I'll probably just be there while the borders are closed, because we'd heard stuff on the news, and we were just like, I'll just go there for a bit so I can be with Mum, because I'm in a really bad spot in my life. So, yeah, and then she picked me up. We stayed in Coffs for a night, came back, and then the day after I came to the Gold Coast, the border shut.
No way.
So we were really close. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, so very close.
And I mean, I know Sydney wasn't as bad as Melbourne, but it wasn't as good as the Gold Coast.
And Mum kept saying to me, she's like, imagine you like in the apartment in the city, just stuck there, like couldn't go anywhere.
In the city would have been yuck.
So I'm really grateful.
Yeah, good.
We came when we did.
Far out. So where were they living when you moved up?
Coomera.
So this is how long ago now?
2020. So this is
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2020, living in Coomera. Mm-hmm. What do? You get here and then what?
I get here and I'm like, there's no Uber Eats anywhere.
Oh,
literally,
true.
There was nothing around. And even like Coomera's come a long way now, but in 2020 it was still building.
Oh, and compared to Sydney, because you would have had everything within a couple of kilometres. Yeah, okay.
Everything, like a gym, food, just everything. Like
Uber Eats, the
Uber
gym.
Eats, yeah.
Uber Eats me a workout. I'm on the couch.
Just everything. I was like, everything's so far away, and you can't go anywhere. So I was
what was it like when you came in that sense? Was it everything restricted and locked down?
Yeah, it was still locked down when I got here. And then I hated it here for so long because I was like, I don't have friends, and I was such a social butterfly in Sydney, and I had my network and I had my groups. And then I came here and I knew no one. And I was just with my family. And because all those relationships had broken down so recently, it was almost like this long mourning period of just like being sorry for myself and being at home. And it was not good.
Were you a little bit like, I don't even want to bother with new things?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And there was like no point like stepping out because I didn't even know if I was going to stay here as well. Okay. So, and then probably around, I think August, September, things started opening. Went to like a gym and I made friends there, and
cool.
Yeah, it was good. And then I was going to church with Mum, but like every 3 months, like kind of like when I wanted to go.
Was that chapel yet?
No, that was Church One.
Church One.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, that's at Nerang.
And you were going there as well?
Yeah, well they started in the Helensvale school.
Ah.
Yeah, so when I started going, they were at the Helensvale. Whatever that is, the basketball court area.
Yeah, cool.
And but I would just kind of show up when I wanted to, or when Mum was like really angry at me that day. She was like, "You need to go to church."
Figure yourself out.
Yeah, exactly. And then I was still quite stubborn for 2 years of just.
No surprise.
Yeah. Yeah, just going to church occasionally, but not surrendering.
What was it like going in, having such a impact made on you as a 16-year-old, and before that, what was it like?
It's just a wrestle. It was just a wrestle of and it was almost like God placed on my heart, you're going to be back here. If you really didn't want to be here, I wouldn't. So it was like I was just dipping my toe in the water, and I just didn't have the maturity at that stage to be I know what it's what it means to be a Christian, and it means to give up everything that I'm doing now. Yeah. And I wasn't prepared to do that because I thought that, I don't know, the social aspect of partying and all of that was giving me more than what the Lord could, which is just crazy thinking
back. How far from the truth, right?
I know, it's so bad.
Man, because your social life now, friendships, relationship.
Mm-hmm. I know.
How robbery, right?
Yeah.
It's you're literally being lied to.
I know.
It's
the enemy was there just you're if you give up the partying and stuff, you're not going to have friends. You're not going to have relationship. Dude. That means giving up all of that to follow the Lord. And it's so such a lie, being where I am now and all the relationships that have been restored and the healthy. Yeah.
Oh, man. Far out. So he's the father of lies for a reason.
Yeah.
Okay, so going, what about altar calls, right? Is there altar calls and you're just
you're the heartbeat.
Yeah. If your heart's beating right now, you're shut up.
Yeah, I'm I'm not ready yet. Yeah, pretty well.
A couple times? That's all right.
Yeah, and I was well, I believe in God. You kind of talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
I've never denied him.
Yeah,
I'm not.
arguing with yourself.
Yeah.
You're arguing with the Holy Spirit. It's come on, man. You're come on, what? I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So
what was the change? What happened?
Change was end of 2022.
Okay, actually, so up here for a couple of years.
Yeah. Actually, mid 2022, I started coming to chapel because Chris, my stepdad, he was doing the sound desk for Church 1 at Nerang, and then chapel moved in.
That's right.
To Nerang, and my dad showed chapel how to use the sound desk and everything like that, and he stayed in on the first service at Nerang.
Big mistake.
Yeah, huge, and came to me and was you need to go to chapel because he's there's a lot of youth there, and the worship was amazing, and I've always loved worship, and so I was oh, okay, cool, but I just didn't really think much of it. A couple months later, then Mum was oh, we're gonna go to chapel as a family. And I was oh, okay, whatever. I might go, I might not.
Still learning to listen to her mum?
Yeah, still to this day. And I actually went to Double Barrel that morning.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they decided they were going to go to chapel, and I'm sitting there, and as you would know, the table next to me, there's a young gentleman that speaks very loudly, and he starts talking about, I go to a church in Nerang.
But he's talking to someone else.
He's talking to someone else. He's at a table. I'm with somebody else, and I close by to the church that morning that my mum and dad were going to go to chapel for the first time. And I'm having a chat with someone else, but in the table next to me, that gentleman starts going.
Tall, handsome, loud gentleman.
Yeah, future husband.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, and he was oh, yeah, I go to a church nearby. And I'm overhearing this being what the heck? And this guy in front of me that I'm having coffee with goes, oh, okay, and what are you doing this morning? And I was oh, I'm thinking about going to a church in Nerang, and literally at the same time we're talking about chapel, and I was this is really weird and odd.
That's so wild.
Yeah, it's really odd. So then I was oh, I think I'm going to go now, because I just get those confirmations. I'm I can't deny that. So yeah, went to chapel, loved it, but still 1 foot in the world, 1 foot in church.
Did you see him there?
No, I didn't. Didn't see that man until very, very later on. That man. Yeah. Yes. And yeah, and then so I was going to chapel probably like every month after that. And yeah, just hearing, dipping it in. I'm like, oh, okay. Around November, I started getting a lot of visions from the Lord, like during worship. And I was like, oh, he's wanting me to come back. Like, really knocking at the heart.
Come on.
Just, you can tell like in your, in worship, you just start like bawling your eyes, like uncontrollable. Like I'm all like, stop crying.
Yeah, all too well.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
I remember running to the bathroom at chapel. I've just got like mascara everywhere. I was just like, oh, this is so embarrassing.
I may have saw that.
Probably.
I had definitely.
Like black, and I was like, oh my gosh. And everyone like was outside. I'm like, what are they doing out here? They should be inside.
Yeah, sure. It's a great question, everyone. Yeah. What are you doing outside?
Exactly. I was like, why are there so many people outside? I'm trying to cover my eyes. So a lot was happening around then. I had like a vision of like, it was just great things like dancing with the Lord, finding all these like restoration things in my life that had been hurt by. And I just that wholeness coming together, which was awesome. And I remember, I was getting, a lot of things were getting revealed to me around that November time. And I started coming to chapel a lot more and just, developing that vertical relationship again with God and that closeness and intimacy. And then December came and the enemy like tried to come back, especially around that Christmas silly season. And with my work and with just the people that I was hanging around with, there was a lot of events. And that last week of December, we had a few like events. And I remember going out New Year's Eve, that like one night, and the next day I was like, I'm never doing this again. Like it was literally end of 2022. I was like, the Lord's revealed so much to me and I almost feel like I'm like betraying him. Like I almost felt like ungrateful about everything that he was restoring, and I'd just gone back like 5 steps and gone back to, so literally, that New Year's I was like, I'm never doing this again. And I just put my foot down and haven't just crossed the
line in the sand.
Line in the sand was like, absolutely not.
Good, Jess.
Yeah. And just like a lot of prayer of like, Lord, I'm prepared to give up everything. Like that was where I needed to be 2 years before, of like ready to give it all up.
Yeah.
So just that surrendered heart was so imperative to be able to make that decision. So left those kind of friendships, left those habits. A lot of the friendships ended up staying around, which was, quite interesting, because I just thought that, oh Lord, I'm giving up everything for you. But a lot of them actually found it interesting to see my path change.
Oh, it's hope.
Yeah.
Like they see the hope, they see the life, like, man, you're happier.
Yeah.
Not doing all this good stuff. And it's like, oh, it's the good stuff's actually over here.
Actually,
You're dancing with the devil.
Yeah.
No, these people they'll cling to it. And you'll notice that, I reckon, over the next 5-10 years. People, you're going to get married, you're going to probably start a family, and you're going to be like, there's going to be a peace and a joy in you that is people want. They're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
Okay, so 2022, New Year's.
Yep.
Line in the sand.
Yep.
Crying at church.
Yeah, lots were happening. It was just like being stripped back to clay, starting over again. It was funny because I felt like a baby Christian, but I still had all this knowledge from like 6 to 18 of like knowing the Lord. So it was very like interesting, because there were some things where I was like, don't rush, like don't get ahead of yourself. You're still starting again. But at the same time, it was like, I feel like I'm picking up where I left off.
Yeah.
So there was that kind of, just knowing what to do with my walk. But it was just building that intimacy. And I remember praying and being like, Lord, like even if it takes years for me to get the blessings that you've got for me, the promises that you've got for me, like I'll do it. I'll just work for you. I just had in my head, I was like, it's just going to be like, probably 5-10 years, but I'm just going to stick to it. I'm just going to be faithful. And I think the Lord knew my heart, and literally like just blessing after blessing in the first few weeks of making that decision.
So good, eh?
I was really shocked. I was like, Lord, I do not deserve this.
Yeah.
I do not in the slightest. I still am like that.
Yeah.
I still feel like a year and a bit on, I'm like, how? Like,
that's the heart. Like he chooses to bless, like that attitude of the heart.
Yeah.
The realization. And it's so beautiful, maybe I'm actually, this always happens. I feel like I'm learning a lot from just listening to you talk. So like young people need to figure some stuff out, and realize that he's not like, you need to do all the things you don't want to do and have an unhappy life. He's like the opposite.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he's like, I really don't want you to, as a 17, 18-year-old, go on this journey. But if it means that you will actually understand that what I have for you is to bless you and love you and you to be fulfilled, then okay.
Yeah.
I'll protect you as long as you, let me, and I've marked you, so hopefully you come back.
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
Wild.
It was so good, and the Lord he just restored so much around that time. Just coming back to Him, and then I remember praying one day before church on Sunday, and I was like, Lord, I've been at chapel now for a few months, and I was like, I want to make a connection. I'm like, I need to make a connection.
Is that like friendship-wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it wasn't straight away, hey?
No, not at all. So I was like, I just need to make like a friend, like just a connection at chapel. And I remember being like, telling Mum, I was like, yep, I'm going to make a friend today. Like I'm going to put myself out there, even if I have to talk to somebody. Anyways, and I sat in the service, and I think I got there early as well. I didn't talk to anyone, got in the service, and then I was like, this is not happening. Like, it's not happening today.
Oh, man.
So I get to the end, and because, the second service, it kind of comes into that lunchtime period. So I'm like, Mum, I'm starving. Like, I need to leave. I was like, I'm so hungry. I was like, I'm going to have to make a friend another day. Like, I'm so hungry. So it was literally like, it just finished. I think the last worship song was on, and I was like, Mum, I'm so hungry. Like, we need to go now. I was leaving, and as I'm leaving, Bianca's like unwrapping the food at the front there, and I go and get the food because I'm so hungry. And Bianca's like, I've been seeing your face around, and I've been meaning to meet you. And now Bianca's like one of my best friends, going to be my bridal party. So she's like, it was just the Lord really has answered my prayers like to the highest degree.
And that's like Bianca to a T as well.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
Hey, friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man, that's really special.
Yep.
And like, how's that been? Like,
so good. She's been an amazing friend. And then it's just opened up more doors to other friendships within chapel, and the girls there have been so good. And then, yes, obviously Brady now.
Do we have time? Director, do we have time? I think we have time to tell the Brady story. I like this because especially for your age, everything you're journeying through, I'm like, I just wish this was kind of all the story of everyone who has that wrestle. Obviously not the pain that comes with walking away and the things that happen with that, but this, like the goodness of it.
I know.
So Brady at the cafe, loud, handsome, tall gentleman sitting beside you that's talking about the church that your parents want you to go to.
Yeah.
And then it's like, how long is it? 6 months?
6 months, yeah. So what actually happened before I met him was my mum, was going to chapel with me, like when I wanted to go. And in December, she found this podcast, Testify.
That's great.
And she was going through, and she's trying to find me a husband because she's just like, you need a Christian man. And I was like, no. I'm not doing that. And I was just being so stubborn. But anyway, she was going through Testifies, and she found Brady's Testify on here, and she watched it, and she was like, you need to watch this Testify. It's so similar to your story, like our families, being out in the world, coming back to the Lord. And I was like, I'm not watching it. I don't care. I don't want to do it.
Typical parents suggesting something. So, lame.
Yep. So she asked me every day for about 2 weeks. This was early December, and I was like, no, not watching it. Came home one day.
Literally every day?
Yeah, literally every day. Got home from work.
Shot mum.
Yeah, and I was like,
mum.
no.
Just trying to show you your future husband.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, no, I'm too tired. I don't want to do it. Finally, one day I get home. She looked so sad when she asked me. She's like, have you watched it yet? I was like, no. And she was gave me the puppy eyes, like, and I was like, I'm fine. So I went to my room, watched it angrily, and then I was like, wow, like this guy is like so inspiring.
Was the connection from the coffee shop or no?
Yes.
So you knew straight away? Straight
away from the Testify. I was like, I've heard the voice. I didn't really recognize the face, but the voice, I was like, this is the guy from the coffee shop. And I was like, I go to so many cafes. I go to so many restaurants. How do I remember this voice? Like, really? There's a lot of loud people. Like,
it is like.
It's weird.
It is weird.
That and I just knew. I was like, that's the guy.
Did you run out and tell your mum?
Yeah, I did. Like, as soon as I made sure I watched the whole podcast, and then I went out and I was like, Mum, like, I've heard this guy's voice before. And I was like, this is a weird connection. And I'm like, I think you might be right. This guy might be for me in the future. Like, and at that time, I was still like, oh, if I have to work 5 years, work 10 years to get the Lord's blessing, like I will. So I still had that mindset of the Lord wasn't going to like give me everything straight away.
Yeah.
But he just knew my heart. So literally 2 months after that, I met Brady through Bianca, because I talked to her about the Testify and being like, yeah, I remember Lord revealing to me stuff through visions and watching this Testify, and then had that New Year's Eve, and I was like, I can't be getting all these things like placed on me from the Lord and then doing what I'm doing. So then that line was drawn, and I told Bianca all of this, and she was like, who's the Testify that you watch? And I said, this guy called Brady. She's like, he would love this story. Like, you have to meet him. So she messaged Brady and was like, you have to meet this girl next Sunday, like blah, blah, blah. I think she would be like, great for you. And Brady's like, I've heard this 80,000 times being in chapel. He was like, had very low expectations for meeting me, because he's like, so many people had gone up to him in the last 2 years of him being
chapel mums.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go, chapel mums and grandmas, let's go.
Yeah, so he was like, didn't have much. But then he saw me at chapel. I was talking to, I think, Shani at the time, and he came up and was like, Jessica. And I turned around and we had a great 20-minute chat. He invited me for coffee after that. And then the
Blackboard?
rest. Huh?
Blackboard? Or double barrel, I mean?
No, not double barrel. We ended up going, I think it was Hazel Espresso.
Probably his favourite spot.
Yeah.
Special spot.
But it was good because, and it's funny that we've talked about being marked in this Testify, because he says it now, like obviously he's got his own story, but he tells me that after he met me and he had worship after, that he felt like the Lord say, like, she's marked for you. So that was,
Good.
There was a lot of confirmations that happened around that time.
It's amazing. Like it's man, we don't know how God works. Hey, sometimes he's so intricately working in the details that we've just got no idea. He's trying to plan our life, trying to give us an amazing life, and we're just like so oblivious.
I know. I think about that photo of the teddy bear, when the child's holding the teddy bear, doesn't want to let go, and then Jesus got the big teddy bear behind his back.
I got what I've got's bigger for you.
For you, yeah. And I felt I was like, wow, what I thought my life was, or what I thought the time I had to put into, coming back to the Lord. The Lord was like prodigal daughter story. As soon as you come back to me, I'm giving you everything. That was just, he's so good. He's been so good to me this year.
So cool, eh? Married this year.
Yep.
How far away from the wedding are we?
2 and a bit months.
2 and a bit months.
Yes.
Come on.
I know.
Oh, I feel like we could do a part 2, hey. maybe later this year after the wedding.
Yeah.
We do a part 2. You're like, oh no. He's louder than I thought.
Yeah.
I have to listen to him every day. Praise the Lord.
Yeah, he's a good storyteller, that one.
He is a good storyteller. He's a good man.
Yeah.
He's a good man. Oh, cool. Well, look, could we wrap up? When I listen to you, usually with young people with this amazing, you just these stories, I just feel like there's young people that listen that just miss the point of a lot of stuff, and they miss it because their expectations are just wrong, or their idea of what's good is wrong. Can you just, I don't know, whatever comes to your head, whatever's in your heart, can you what do you have to say to some young women or maybe men that are listening to this about following God, or maybe think it's not good, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what's an encouragement, I guess I'm trying to say, for some young people?
I think the like encouragement would be like, I just don't think like anything can compare to the peace and love of God. Like, you think that the things of the world are enticing and they're attractive short term, but they're just not worth, there's more pain and suffering in that. And you end up finding like an emptiness. Whereas with God, it might look like you're going through trials, you know, and it might look like you're giving up a lot to follow God, but it's so worth it when you have the peace and the understanding and the wisdom of living a simple life and a quiet life, and how much just wholeness that brings. I think that I always thought I had to live a busy and exciting and passionate and just full of life, but it's not full of life. Like it's full of distractions.
Yeah.
And when you're young, you think that that's what you want, but the importance of a quiet life and being settled and finding peace with the Lord, finding intimacy, those are the foundations of your soul. And that should be our highest priority as young people, is to just seek that.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And then the Lord adds to you
Yeah.
everything you need.
Abundantly and more
than you can ever imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Praise the Lord. Well, Jessica Fox.
Yes.
Soon to be Jessica something else.
Yeah.
Mackie.
Jess
Let's go. Jess Mackie. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time today. You are you're an amazing young woman of God, and it's a privilege to listen to what God's doing in your life. So
thanks,
thank
Sam.
you.